Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for an overview of Office 365 application and tools. My name is Jeff Rhodes. I'm a service owner with Pitt IT, with one of my focuses being Office 365. So today we are pleased to have Lindsey Troyanoski, a trainer with Microsoft, who's going to be telling us about all the amazing things that you can do with Office 365. Lindsey, thank you for being here today, and I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeff. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start talking about Office 365. All right, so Office 365 overview, that's the name of the game today. We are going to be kind of just talking through what is Office 365. I know sometimes, we get this really great technology tool, right? And we're like really excited about it. We're wanting to get our hands dirty with all of these different tools. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, there's a lot to learn. So maybe I'll come back to it, or, maybe I'll just kind of wait until we get some sort of training. So here's the training, right? So we are going to be talking about just this idea of Office 365. I'm going to be going over some specifics with Office 365 here today, and kind of what Office 365 is and what it can do for you and how it can help you be more efficient in your day-to-day. On this resource, so this resource that I'm using here is actually this bit.ly resource. So this is what you'll get from that resource that I've given. My information is on here. Like I said, if you wanted to connect via Twitter, my email, my LinkedIn are there as well. Of course, your first line of defense in everything technology is going to be your IT department there at Pitt. So, always feel free to get in touch with your help desk first. But if it's something, specific to Microsoft, or if it's something you are doing that you're really, excited about and you want to let me know, please, please, please feel free to do that. I've also mentioned in our last session that we did on Microsoft Teams, if you are on the teaching and learning side of Microsoft Teams and you really are looking to get more into the teaching and learning of using Microsoft Teams with students, please feel free to get in touch with me for more trainings and resources on that specifically. I'm very happy to help with that. My background is in teaching, so now I just kind of have moved from teaching the little ones to teaching the big kids. You guys are the big kids. But I used to teach both kindergarten and 5th and 6th grade learning support. So I'm coming from that world. I've been in this realm for about 4 years now. So this is kind of my comfort zone now. But today we're just going to really, focus on this idea, what is Office 365? Now, before we do this, again, I just want to show you where you can access Office 365. So your University of Pittsburgh Office 365, you can get there from going just to office.com. So just, by going to office.com on any device, any browser, even your phone, you can just plug in office.com, plug in your Pitt credentials, and then it will take you directly to this homepage. So this is just a really nice, easy way to access everything. Of course, you have your webmail here and those types of things as well. But this is going to be where we're pretty much living for the entire session today. We're going to be talking about all of these different applications. So if you've ever gotten into this space and thought, wow, there's some really cool things here, I wish I knew more about them, we're going to hopefully get you leaving today understanding more of, the gist of each individual app that you do see here. Okay, so that's really our goal for today, is just to really get you familiar with the apps that you do have access to. So what encompasses Office 365? So like I mentioned, that is going to be your homepage. It is going to be where all of your Office 365 applications live. You'll also see your app launcher, which I'll talk about in just a second, your apps ribbon, your documents, your personalization. That's kind of housed within that homepage. So I like to start off with this because there are some folks on this call who may just be kind of at the beginner stages of even using technology just in general. So I'd like to just start out with some, basics on the homepage itself, and then we'll go into the specific applications. So this homepage here, up in the top left-hand corner, you always have this app launcher. This is kind of almost like a safe space so that you can guarantee you're never going to get lost, right? So if you click into an app, and you want to get back to Office 365, the homepage, or you want to get to another application, this is your guidance through applications in Office 365. So you can always click on this. I sometimes call it the dot game because it kind of just looks like that up in the top left-hand corner. But we call it the app launcher because it does have all of your applications that you can launch directly from there. And then if you ever just click on Office 365, this is going to take you directly into your homepage again. So you never have to get lost or feel lost in Office 365 because you always have that app launcher to kind of keep you safe and take you back if you need to get anywhere that you want to get to. Now on the homepage itself, you'll see just kind of all of your apps here kind of in a list, right? So tile form, you'll see your different applications. You'll also see up in the top right-hand corner your name. You'll also see, if you click on your name, your account, your profile, those types of things. But I want to actually point you to the settings here because this is where you can kind of personalize a few things based on your personal settings within the homepage itself. So here's where you can change your theme. Of course, your default theme is going to be your University of Pittsburgh theme. But if you wanted to change the theme to something different, you could click through the different themes that you have set there for you. There's also a dark mode option. So if you do need that for accessibility purposes or just prefer that dark mode, this is you have the ability to do that right here. And then your notifications and customized settings, you can, change and kind of update from there. Now you also have this really nifty help. Now you're probably going to see this in most of the applications that I'm talking through today in the web, and you're probably thinking, okay, Linz, yep, we know what the help is. But I wanted to just point you to this because I think a lot of times we sometimes forget about this. So first and foremost, there's some featured help options that can kind of just help you with some tips and tricks as you get started. There's also your technology help desk information that is here. So if you ever need that, but you can also search for help right here in the search bar. So this is where you can easily type in what you're looking for, or, if you're in Outlook and you're looking for how to set an automatic reply, you can go up here and type in automatic reply and it will automatically take you to that menu of how to do that. So I just wanted to point that out. I think it's, sometimes underutilized. We forget it's there. So that help button is there. You also have a start new. Now this start new is just going to kind of help you to get started with any of these different applications. So if you'd like to start a new, for example, Word document, you could do that right from here. If you'd like to start a new quiz in Microsoft Forms, you can do it from here. So this is just a quick, hey, I want to get started really quickly and I want to click start new and go for it. You can also create new, Word documents in Word. You could create new OneNote notebooks in OneNote. So this is just kind of an easy access getting started. Down here at the bottom, you're going to see recent documents that you have used or recent documents that you have worked on. You're also going to see recent folders in OneDrive that you have frequented, and then recent sites that you have frequented in SharePoint. Okay, so I'm going to, since I don't work on this Pittsburgh one often, I'm going to show you my typical Microsoft one here so you can see. So this is what it's going to look like. It's going to have just this quick, recent documents list, the OneDrive folders that you've most recently worked in, and then any recent sites that I've frequented. So you can see that there. Now we'll get into what all of that means in just a second. But again, really just first and foremost, wanting to get you acclimated with the OneNote, with the Office 365 homepage, so that if somebody says to you, how do I access Office 365? You can tell them, and you can also say, well, did you know all of these things do some really cool, things, and let me tell you about them. So office.com from any device, even your phone, you can access this homepage. You can also get into all of these applications right from this Office 365 homepage. You can personalize, you can access your apps, all of that good stuff. So that's kind of the navigation throughout Office 365 in general. I also just have on that sway a quick finding your way in Office 365. I think it's like maybe 60 seconds or so. So just a quick overview of what I just went through. So if you wanted to share this out with others who maybe weren't able to make it today, you can easily access that and share that out. Now let's get into more of a deep dive of some of the applications that you do see, because I think it's important for you to just at least have a summary of each of these individual applications that you see, right? So we're going to start off talking about Outlook, which I'm not going to talk too much about because you know and I know that's going to be your webmail client. You can always get to Outlook from here. But we want to then move directly onto OneDrive. Now, OneDrive is a little bit more complicated when you're starting out, and when you're specifically getting started, you may think, well, I'm not really sure what OneDrive is, so I don't really know how to use it. So I do want to just kind of talk through this just for a second. Now, OneDrive has the ability to hold all of your files. There's also collaboration capabilities within OneDrive. And then, of course, as with everything in Office 365, there's anywhere access. So this is really the big mindset around it, is that, I can access Office 365 and all of those apps from anywhere with an internet connection, from my phone, from my tablet, from my device, from my desktop, wherever I need to. And this is the same with OneDrive. OneDrive is, just really, this is kind of the gist of it. Now, I've also included a support page for you. So, after today, if you want to deep dive more into it. But here's the gist. You can access your files anywhere. With OneDrive, you can easily store and access files from all of your devices, meaning I can get OneDrive on my phone and I can save, let's say I take a picture of something I'm using in one of my classes for Pitt on my phone, and I want to save that to OneDrive. I can do that through my phone just by using OneDrive. I can also save things that have been stored maybe on my desktop, right, into OneDrive. OneDrive is a cloud-based storage solution. So you don't have to worry about if you drop your device or spill coffee on it, right? Those files are always protected and secure. Working with anyone, there is the ability to collaborate through OneDrive, and you can do that directly through OneDrive by sharing files and or sharing folders and collaborating directly through OneDrive. You can find your files super quickly and super easily using the search in Microsoft OneDrive, and then the protection that you have. So everything within OneDrive is basically protected from the Pitt level to the Microsoft level, but Pitt kind of has the overall, protection and capabilities into OneDrive because Pitt owns your OneDrive, right? So we sometimes call it OneDrive for Business because it is essentially for your business, to which is Pitt, right? So your Pitt IT, handles and kind of manages your OneDrive from that perspective. I've also just included in here, and I'm going to get you into OneDrive in just a second, but I've also included a quick video on privacy and sharing, and then another quick video on finding your way in OneDrive. Because, hey, I am a teacher, I am an educator, I understand with professional development, you leave, you don't think about it for a little while, and then you want to come back to it. So that's why I always include these types of resources in there so that, you're able to get back to it at any point in time to access those, if you need a refresher. So let's actually go into OneDrive. When I click into OneDrive, notice here at the top, it does say my name. It does say, this is, my OneDrive, Lindsey Troyanoski. Okay, great. But keep in mind that this is still your business, your OneDrive for business, meaning that Pitt still has access to this. So you don't want to put things like tax information or, things like that are very personal in this OneDrive. This is meant to be for anything that you do within Pitt. Now you can see as I scroll down, I have a ton of different, folders in here and then specific files, but this is really acting similarly to if you're used to using something like a desktop application or a file explorer. This is really acting similarly, right, to my file explorer. So I can access my, files, I can access my folders, all of that good stuff right through here. Now, the really nice thing about Office 365 is that I actually have the ability to sync my files with my device that I'm using. And sometimes organizations do this kind of at the level of, they push it out for everybody, but sometimes it's individual. So what I mean by that is if I would want to access, let's say I would want to access one of these folders on my actual device file explorer, I can do that because look, I have my OneDrive actually synced with my file explorer. So I can actually access these things offline if I need to as well. But I do have just quick and easy access through my file explorer. So here's the gist. I have the cloud-based file option here. I can access this from any device, anytime, anywhere. However, you probably work on one device most of the time, maybe 99% of the time. You're working on the same device, right? In that case, you can easily sync your OneDrive with your device. There's lots of ways to do this. I'm just showing you this one way. You can sync your OneDrive with your device so that you can see your OneDrive files in your File Explorer. You can access them from your File Explorer. You can access them offline, etc. Okay, so again, if you're working mostly on the cloud, mostly on the web, you don't even need to do that. However, if you're working, on the same device, you're using the desktop applications of, Office products, there's an easy way to sync your OneDrive with your device so that you have that easy access through your File Explorer. Okay, so wanted to point that out there because I know that we'll probably get questions on that. So if you do have specific questions on that, feel free Q&A, but I'm not done with OneDrive, so hopefully I answer them by the time we're done. Now, within OneDrive on this cloud-based, view, remember, I am on the browser. I'm just using Microsoft Edge, but you could be using Google Chrome, you could be using, what have you. It could be anything, any of your browsers. I'm accessing OneDrive from here. Over here on the left-hand side, I have my files, which are going to be all of the files that I have created that I am an owner of, any recent files that I've worked on, and then I'm also going to see a portion over here that says shared. Now this is where I'm going to be able to access any files that have been shared with me or files that have been shared by me. And if I'm being honest here, this is an overview of Office 365. We could probably do a whole hour on OneDrive, but that's why I've included some of those resources for you. But what you need to really understand here is that there is real-time collaboration that can happen within OneDrive. Okay, it's a little bit different from Microsoft Teams because Microsoft Teams is giving you a shared library. Okay, OneDrive is not giving you a shared library. OneDrive is your own library that you're just simply sharing and giving permission to somebody to access and collaborate with you. So that's really that big difference around that, just so that there are differences between the two. If you're already using Microsoft Teams to share files and share, documents with your team, that's perfectly fine. You may not even want to use OneDrive for shared files. However, if it's a one-off file, maybe, I'm sharing with this one person once a year, I might want to do it through OneDrive. So I can absolutely access the shared space in OneDrive. I can access any shared with me documents, and then I can also access shared by me documents. If I'm trying to share a file of mine, I can do it through this space here, just by kind of hovering over the document and choosing the share option. or I can share it directly if I'm in the document, which I'm going to show in just a second. So my files, recent and shared, are really the big ones that you need to understand and know. You'll also see down here in your OneDrive that it does have a list of your shared libraries. Most of these you're going to see are going to either be, and they could be Teams or SharePoint sites that you've accessed that you have a shared library within. Okay, so you'll see those shared libraries there. Those are different than your individual OneDrive. Okay, these are shared libraries where everybody in the team has access to those files. This is my OneDrive where only I have access to my files, unless I've shared them out specifically. Okay, up here at the top, I can create new documents, new files, new folders directly in OneDrive. So this really helps me if I'm, working in this space and I want to just quick create a content outline or, an agenda or something like that. I can do it right from here. I can also upload directly into my OneDrive. So if you're losing space on your device and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I need to get these, files into a cloud-based storage solution, OneDrive is it. So you can go in here, you can upload whole folders or individual files. Again, I talked about that syncing capability that you have as well. But I want to actually show what happens when you create a new Word document. And this is actually going into our next portion of our Office 365 overview, which is Office Online versus Office Desktop. This is a huge ask. A lot of times when I do training, people say, well, what's the difference here? Which one should I be using? Is there major differences between the two? So we're going to get into this next. This difference between Office Online, which I'm going to show you here on the browser, and Office Desktop, which is the Word, PowerPoint, OneNote that you know and love. Okay. So what I did was I created new, went into Word document. That opened up a Word document for me in the browser. I can tell I'm in the browser because up here at the top, I can see my URL, I can see, my browser extensions, all of that good stuff. I also know that I'm working in Word. It tells me, hey, you're working in Word, but I know that I'm on the browser. So there are some limitations to working on the browser versus working in the desktop. There are some bells and whistles that you'll have in the desktop that you will not have in the browser-based version. However, 9 times out of 10, what you're doing can probably be done in the browser-based version. If you're not a super power user of, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you probably are going to be fine using the browser-based version. So I can go up here to the top and I can go to rename it. So I'm going to rename it Pitt Training here. And that is now saved. Every time I type, you can see up here at the top that it's automatically saving, and then it's going to change to saved. So there's no save button in the browser-based version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of our Office Online suite. It's just automatically saving for me. Again, saving, and then it's going to automatically save for me. Now, there's a few things I want to point out here. In our Office Online version of Word, we do have some extra accessibility features that can really help out with not only students, but also you, if you're trying to proofread something or any of those options. So in the View menu of Word Online, we actually have something called Immersive Reader that brings accessibility right into Word. So it actually allows me to play this aloud. And you can tell it's highlighting as it's reading. I also have voice settings here, faster, slower, male or female. Up here in the top corner, I have different preferences for text sizing, spacing, fonts, themes. I also have separating by syllables, right? So again, not just for students, but also I may be able to use this with what I'm doing day to day too. You may also have a kiddo at home that could really benefit from this, right? So again, a really nice integrated part of Word Online. I also have a line focus option that allows me to read line by line. A picture dictionary that allows me to actually get a picture of what I'm reading. And a translation option, which allows me to translate directly, and then I can actually have that read aloud. So I can translate by word, or I can translate whole document. Okay, so again, this is called Immersive Reader. This is not just in Word Online, it's also in Microsoft Forms, it's also in Teams, it's in so many different places, but I wanted to point it out as part of Office Online because it is a really great tool. Now, again, with Office Online, if you go through the menus, you're going to have a lot of what you're used to in your typical Word desktop. You're going to have your layouts, you're going to have your, reference options, your review options, all of that good stuff. However, again, you won't have every single bell and whistle, but they are bringing more bells and whistles to the browser-based version. I'm pointing out this track changes because this is pretty new to the browser-based version, and it's really exciting that it's there. So if I were working, let's say I were working in tandem with both Anthony and Jeff on this document right now, I would be able to see where they're typing and they would be able to see where I'm typing. And if we turn on track changes, that would just enhance our document editing because we'd be able to see all of that going on as well. So from this browser-based version, if I find that I'm working in here and maybe I want to add something that, I'm just like, maybe I want to use that desktop version. When I say the desktop version, here's what I mean. Start menu. Either look over here for Microsoft Word, or I have it added as my app right here. I would click on it from here, and it would open Word desktop version. Okay, so that's what I say. When I say desktop version, this is what I mean. And that's just Word as an example. We can also plug in PowerPoint or Excel in there as well. Okay, now, if I'd want to go from this web-based version to the desktop version, all I have to do is click up here to open in desktop. Now watch what happens when I do that. It's going to say this site is trying to open Word. I'm going to say, okay, yep, open. And now it's going to open in that full desktop version of Word that I'm used to, right? And I can keep working. And it's automatically saving because my version of Word has this auto save on. If yours does not, just click the save button. You do not have to save as. The reason being, this is automatically saving back to your OneDrive because remember, we started in a OneDrive, so it's automatically saving back there. Now, once I save it and I close out, if I go back here, it's going to automatically update for me. So it's going to have all of those changes that I just made in desktop that update back to web version and so on and so forth. So here's the changes that I just made in desktop. And you can see, hey, while you're away, changes were made. So that's really great. Okay, so again, pretty much just the gist of that ability to go from the web-based version to the desktop version just by one click and then back again. This PIT training document is going to be housed in my OneDrive, so you can see it right here. PIT training document is here. If I did want to share this out with someone, like I said, you do have sharing capabilities here. You just have to set your permissions around who you'd like to share it with. And then if you'd like them to have edit capabilities to the document itself. If you're sharing this document through a team, all you'd have to do is go into the team and pull this document right into that team file space. When you pull it into the team, it's going to be a copy of this document. So I'll still have this original document in my OneDrive. The copy will live in Teams. Okay, I know that this is a lot of information. So again, this is going to be recorded. You can always come back to it. But we wanted to just give you, the gist of how to operate within OneDrive and then also within all of these great Office Online applications. Now, we just went through Office Online, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and also OneNote we refer to as part of our Office Online suite. However, I'm going to talk about OneNote separately, but these three can be accessed right from here too. So I don't need to create that Word document in OneDrive. I can just create it from here. If I go here, click New Blank Document, I can create it from here. The nice thing is, if I create it from here, and if we were in person, this is where I would say, who knows where it would save back to? But since we're not in person, I'm going to have to answer my own question. If you open it from Office 365, it is automatically saving back to your OneDrive. So if you open any Office Online application, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, OneNote, they will automatically save back to your OneDrive. So you don't have to worry about where they're stored. They will automatically save back to that OneDrive. Pretty nifty, and it's great that you don't have to worry about that. Okay. All right. Next on the list, good old OneNote. If you have used OneNote in the past, you know it's super powerful and it's just amazing. And it's once you use it, you don't go back to not using it because it's just a life changer. But I wanted to add in here just a quick OneNote at a glance, all the things that OneNote can do. But I want to give you just an overview. So OneNote is a digital 3-ring binder. This is the best way to describe OneNote. Think of it, picture it in your mind, a 3-ring binder, right? Let's say 1-inch, 2-inch, whatever binder, okay? You open up the rings, you put in good old tabs, and then behind the tabs, you're adding in pages, okay? Hopefully you have that picture in your mind. That is OneNote, except for OneNote is digital. That's really the biggest difference there. So you already know how to use it because you already know how to use a 3-ring binder, right? Now you're just transferring to thinking about, using a 3-ring binder in a digital sense. So again, OneNote is just a game changer. I use it for everything, but I'm going to show you OneNote from the browser. So you can actually get to OneNote right here from Office 365 just by clicking on OneNote. When you click on OneNote, it's going to show you the OneNotes that you've already created, and it's going to allow you to create a new notebook as well. So I'm going to click on New Notebook. I'm going to name it. Now, this can be anything. So think in your daily life, how do you take your notes? How do you organize meeting notes? How do you organize just your day-to-day processes? Could you benefit from a digital 3-ring binder? And that's what you would create it around. So I actually have one that I've created for, my day-to-day stuff. And that's the first one you see there, FY20 Planning and Logistics. This is the notebook that I literally live by. I mean, I have my whole life in there, I feel like. But it really organizes me. So yes, you can create as many notebooks as you'd like, but once we get into the notebook and I show you the organization, I think you're really going to be able to work off of, 1 or 2 or even 3 notebooks. So once you create that notebook, you're going to see it pulls up OneNote on the web-based version. So again, Office Online. I have the ability to get into OneNote from any device, any browser. I can go ahead and add a new section over here. Now, again, picture this. I'm adding a tab. So I'm adding a section here. Let's call this tab Meeting Notes. Now, in that tab, I have the ability to add pages. So now I can add a page for today. Look at the date, guys. I could add a page for tomorrow. I could add a page for Friday, right? And for each of these pages, I have this blank canvas for my meeting notes. And what's nice is if you have the ability to have, a touchscreen device, I can take my meeting notes using that touchscreen device. And OneNote is not just like a Word document. It's not just for word processing. There's so many different capabilities in OneNote to insert pictures or files or documents or audio notes into a OneNote. So OneNote is not only great for organization, but we also have something called a class notebook that is a game changer in the classroom space. So just from the perspective of the app itself, it works in this way of creating a tab. Let's call this one professional development. And then in each tab, I have pages. Okay, so I can create those pages just by titling. So I need to go back to draw. Choose text. Let's say Microsoft training. All right. And I can create these pages in the way that I want them to be. I also have the ability to open this OneNote in the app version of OneNote. Now there's I guess 3 different versions now of OneNote. So you do have the web-based version or the OneNote online version that I'm showing you here. You have the app-based version, which is kind of it's the really purple one. That's maybe the best way to describe it. It's really purple. You might see it if you have a Windows 10 device, because it should come standard with your Windows 10 device, and it looks like this. It says OneNote for Windows 10. Okay. If you have a Mac or another different device, you may see OneNote OneNote 2016. You can use any of those. You can use any of those versions. For a while, we were saying don't use 2016 because it was going away, but Microsoft decided, no, we're not going to actually move it away because people really liked it. So you can use any of those versions, whatever works for you. I like OneNote Windows 10, and you can see I can go into, let's say I go into my to-do list. Again, guys, I use this for everything that I do. So this is pretty much my whole life here. My to-do lists are here. I have them, in such a way that I can kind of check them off as I complete things. I have all of my, training spelled out, everything that I need, really. I have in this space. So again, you're creating tabs and then you're creating pages within those tabs to really help you organize and, just get yourself in a good space. Every morning I open Teams and I open OneNote. That's kind of where I live for most of the day. All right. So that's pretty much OneNote. I do have extra OneNote resources for you. There's so much more that OneNote has to offer. But again, there's extra resources there for you. SharePoint, I'm not going to talk too much about, just because I don't actually train a ton on SharePoint, but I do want to just give you the gist. So SharePoint is essentially a way to create almost like an intranet site, right? So like a website that is simply for University of Pittsburgh. Whether that be around content, whether that be around a project, whether that be around, a specific department, whatever that be, you can create a SharePoint site there. Now, once we introduced Microsoft Teams, a lot of, especially educational institutions, were actually moving from their use of SharePoint to actually using a Microsoft Team instead, because SharePoint and Microsoft Teams, they have a lot of the same pieces of the puzzle, but Microsoft Teams has a lot more collaboration aspects to it. Okay, so when you're talking about working in a team, it may be more suitable for you to create a team so that you have that collaborative or communicative space to actually, talk and work and those types of things. In a SharePoint site, this is more giving information and kind of giving announcements and those types of things. So Teams kind of amped up this idea of SharePoint sites to actually incorporate more collaboration and communication. So again, we just did a webinar on Teams. So if you did not see that, please go back and view that webinar. That's going to be more of a deep dive of Teams. Today, I really just want to, talk about just the summary because I don't have that much time left, and I want to just make sure that we have time at the end to kind of go over a few other things. So Teams is a hub for teamwork. You will see it here in your Office 365 homepage, right? You'll be able to access it from here, but you also will have an option for a desktop version of Microsoft Teams. So you can always access Microsoft Teams through the desktop, which is what I'm doing today. But what I want to just kind of point out here is that Microsoft Teams has this rich collaboration space. So not only can you connect with your team from the perspective of, hey, here's what I'm doing next week. Does anybody have any qualms with this or any comments on this? But you can also share things like files. You can manage projects using something called Microsoft Planner inside of Teams. There's just so much that you can do. It's so versatile, especially in the way that you want to organize maybe like a department team. Maybe you have 20 people in your department and you really want to work together. Microsoft Teams is a really great way to bring together those 20 people in one central location and have both collaboration and conversation in that one space. Again, extra resources here, but the main thing that I want you to understand around Teams is it is that hub for teamwork and collaboration. Due to time, I'm scrolling on down. Sway is next on our list. I talked a little bit about Class Notebook when I talked about OneNote, so I'm going to skip that one. But Sway is next on our list. Sway is actually what I'm using right now for this presentation. So as I scroll through and as I do things like, point out that there's videos in here or, click through these images here, right? You're probably thinking, okay, well, what is she using for this? This is like a website, but she's interacting with it. What is this cool thing? This is actually called a Sway. So Sway actually just makes it easy to create these interactive website stories, presentations by, just really using this app built into Office 365. So when you click on Sway from Office 365, you do have the ability to just build a brand new Sway, but there's also templates here. If you want to start from, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, you can start from one of those there. But you'll also see down at the bottom, there's some featured Sways. I have a ton of Sways. If I went into all Sways, you guys would not even believe it. I have a ton. And the reason that I have a ton is because I typically train by using a Sway. It just works for me. I don't typically use a PowerPoint to walk through slides. I find Sway is a little bit more interactive for participants. And I find that participants go back to Sway more than they go back to PowerPoint. That's just my experience. I still use PowerPoint. There's a time and a place, right? But I typically use Sway for these types of trainings. Now, I want to give you some examples from the university perspective on how other universities that I've worked with are using Sway. I have some universities around the Philadelphia area using Sway for in their HR department for a newsletter. So they push out a newsletter every month for their HR department, and they use Sway to do that. I have that same university using it for research design projects. So in that perspective, working with, you may have some teacher assistants working with you on a design project, and you want to put all of that information into one space to present, you can use Sway. How else? Let's see. Oh, higher ed. So I also have some teachers using it for flipped classroom, from the flipped classroom perspective, especially now with remote learning. I have a lot of teachers using, educators, professors using Sway to create the lesson, sharing that out with students, and then students coming to office hours with questions that they had around the lesson. So lots of different, great examples. I've also included Sway resources here for you if you want to get started using Sway. I will tell you, one of the huge benefits of Sway is it takes me probably about a third of the time to do a Sway that it would take me to do a PowerPoint. So I like it because it saves me time, but I also like it just, because it's fun. So there's extra resources there for you. Now, getting into the last two apps here, Microsoft Forms. Microsoft Forms is probably, I'm going to venture to say it's probably one of our most, and I use this term lightly, but quote, user-friendly applications that we do have. If you have ever used any sort of form software, SurveyMonkey, anything like that, you typically know kind of the design and how a form operates and how it works. But I want to just show you Forms really quickly. When you go into Microsoft Forms, you have the ability to create a new form or a new quiz. When you create a new form, I'm going to pull up this form here. When you create a new form, some of the really great options that you actually have are the abilities to just kind of differentiate by branching. So if a person chooses yes, they can be branched to a different question than if they choose no, right? So you do have the ability to kind of differentiate there. But in Forms, the responses come through right to this this homepage here. So I have all of my responses. I have my average time that it took to complete. I even have the ability to pull open the form in an Excel spreadsheet, which is super nice because then I'm able to just have all of my stuff in one, individual space. I can view my results, all of that good stuff. My names, and it separates each individual question. So this is a really nice way for me to then go through and say, okay, this person, responded this. This person responded this. The reason that you're seeing up here respondent 1, respondent 2 is because the way that I shared this out was anyone with a link can respond, because I shared it out outside of my organization. If you're sharing it inside of your organization and you choose this, then the names would automatically be recorded and populated. Okay, so you do have those abilities then after you create your form to share directly via a link. You can also add a form right into a Microsoft team. So if you're using Teams and you want to just add that form right in there, you have the ability to do that. Okay. Now, last but not least, we have Microsoft Stream. And I don't think you guys are using Stream too much yet, but I know that I'm putting some of my videos in Stream, so I want to just go over it really quickly. Microsoft Stream is going to be basically an internal version of kind of like a YouTube, a streaming, service, right? Now I say internal because only University of Pittsburgh members and organization members can get into the University of Pittsburgh Stream channels. Okay, so I've created one actually in the University of Pittsburgh Stream that is called, forget even what it's called. Let's see, Microsoft Training. So if you go into Stream, this is what you'll see. You'll see up here at the top how to use Stream, how to upload videos, how to find content, how to create channels. But if you're thinking in the mentality of YouTube, creating channels and then adding video content, that's what Stream is mostly all about. So I'm able to go into this channel that I've created, and I'm able to actually see that Teams training from last week. I can see that, hey, it's added in here. I can access it from there. I can see how many views. I can see if people liked it or commented. So this is I've set the permissions for all of University of Pittsburgh to be able to see this. So you should, if you go into Stream, you should be able to see and find my Microsoft Training Stream channel. And you should be able to see, and I'll post all of the videos there, all of my training videos will be posted here. So this is just a good way to keep up with trainings. And then you can also create channels that are a little bit more private, just for your, let's say, just for a class that you're doing or just for your department, those types of things. So Stream is really versatile. I'm not going to go through a lot of it because of time, and also because there's a ton of videos here on, showing you exactly how to use it and why to use it. Okay. I know we're running out of time. The last couple of things I have here at the bottom, I always just include some extra resources for support. I have our support.office.com resource linked here. I also have just a resource here for making the transition to remote learning. I think is a really good resource if you're making that transition for your classes and you just kind of want to learn more. I've also included down here more educator focused resources. So if you're not an educator, disregard. If you are, this is an amazing educator based resource that I highly, highly recommend. So again, just more training and support down here at the bottom. I'm going to scroll back up so that you have the Office 365 overview link. If you didn't yet, take a picture of it, plug it into your browser and favorite it, or just write it down on a sticky note or what have you, so that you can save this resource. I'm going to stop with 2 minutes left. I want to, Anthony and Jeff, do we have any questions that you'd like me to address before our time is up?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been so frantically responding to as many questions as I can that it's hard to remember some of them. So some of the ones that we had published was, there were a lot of questions about OneDrive and syncing and trying to sync multiple clients. Like if somebody works for UPMC and also works for Pitt, can they sync both of those?
Okay, so the answer to that is yes. However, just be mindful when you're syncing. There is a way to sync specific things. So it does take up a bit of space on your hard drive. Not a lot, but a bit. So you don't want to sync, especially if you have a ton of stuff in both, right? You have in your UPMC, you have, thousands of files, and in your Pitt, you have thousands of files. I would then, if you're doing that, you can sync both, absolutely. However, when you're doing it, just pick and choose the ones that you work mostly on to sync those over individually. And I wouldn't sync the entire, I wouldn't sync the entire thing.
We had a few questions about that too, specifically, can you sync just files? And yes. So if you go into the sync, you can, there's selective sync.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll also see down here at the bottom, if you're using a Windows 10 device, you should see your OneDrive then pop up from here, and you're able to actually access it. It's almost like just a quick access into your OneDrive. You'll see a blue cloud once that's synced. So, you're able to quickly access it from there. But yes, you can individually sync folders or, specific things that you want to sync. And you don't have to sync the entire OneDrive. Good question.
Yep.
Okay, we are at time. The team is going to keep answering your Q&A questions.
Yes.
And
the recording will be available. I'm getting a lot of those questions right now. So yes, the recording will be available.
Yes.
And the Q&A will be available as part of the recording as well, right?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. That was a question.
They should see, they should see their Q&A history as part of that as well. And then again, guys, I'm going to put this recording up on Stream as well. So you can always find it on Stream. If you want to go back to my Microsoft Teams training, you can always find that on Stream as well. So you can access the link, or you can go into Stream and access it from there. Okay. All right. I thank you everybody so much for your time. Hopefully you enjoy. It's a beautiful day here. Hopefully it's not too cold for you guys. But hopefully enjoy your day. We are going to be running some interactive Teams training sessions that will be up for you to sign up for if you do want that choice and chance. But hopefully we'll be running more, training sessions for you guys in the future. So if you want something specifically, you can always reach out and tell the help desk about, specific training that you may be looking for. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.